Welcome to the Stephen Mansfield Podcast.
Well, welcome to the Stephen Mansfield Podcast. Great to have you with me. Let me say before we get too far into this that we have some construction noise around our studios in downtown Nashville, so you may hear some pounding or some other screeching of some sort. It doesn't bother us. We hope it doesn't bother you. In fact, you may not even hear it, but if you do, I'm going to soldier right along here despite the noise. I want to dive into politics, and that's got to sound good to some of you because that's why you listen to my podcast in the first place. And for the last 6 weeks or so, I've been talking about the virus and how we can get through it and what we need to learn and what we need to remember. So some of you are going to be relieved that I'm actually turning to the subject of politics. But there's something very interesting in the numbers that I want to talk about. It's more the attitude towards the numbers. There's no question that if you survey the country, and in most polls, Biden has a lead over Trump at this point. In fact, it's pretty significant. In some cases, it's almost a 8-point lead. But in almost every poll right now, Biden beats Trump. Now, you know that I'm a little suspicious of polls, and you know that they have failed us in recent elections. They have not accurately predicted of late the outcome of elections, certainly not the margins by any stretch. But right now, it's important for us to remember that Joe Biden holds a sizable lead in most national and individual swing state polls. Hold that number. And there's another factor that's interesting. We have a lot of weird things going on electorally right now. Trump has not gotten the bump from a national emergency that you normally get. Now, that may sound crass and political, but the reality is when you have a 9/11, when you have a Great Depression, when you have a war, when you have big national events, Americans, being the good people that they are, tend to rally around the flag. No matter what kind of, bumbler the president might be, they still rally around the flag. They still stand with the president. They don't want to change horses in the middle of a stream. And usually a president gets a real bump in the polls. I know some of you are even surprised that polls continue during hard times in a national life, but it's just true. So, but Trump has not gotten that bump. Part of it is that his administration has been mixed at best in its response to this crisis. Part of it is that even if his administration had handled the thing perfectly, his personal manner is always so offensive and crass and costs him points so completely that he might not get a bump even if the crisis was handled well and his administration was getting points for good performance. So that's just the nature of the Trump administration. Trump can steal from his own thunder better than anybody I've ever known in my life and watched on the national scene. And by the way, he steals from his own thunder while he's trying to create his own thunder. He's trying to create his own press, his own popularity. It just doesn't work. So he has not gotten the bump that he should have gotten, that should have come from what's going to be a relatively short-term crisis. I mean to take nothing away from the suffering that some of you might be enduring or the deaths that maybe you've endured. But the fact is that this is going to be a relatively short-term crisis. Most of the damage that will happen from coronavirus 19, it will be contained within the year 2020. Already, even some of the most left-leaning and negative prognosticators say that 2021 is looking to be a pretty amazing year. The economy is going to bounce back, etc. In fact, by the election, we ought to be seeing positive growth, positive numbers, things happening. We've got some dicey few months here, but that's the way things are heading. So all of that to say that Trump should be doing relatively well for a short-term crisis that's going to, we're still going to land on our feet. We're not under threat we're going to be extinguished as a nation. Is the human race going to be wiped out? Has the president made a decision that's wiped out millions of lives or hundreds of thousands, which, by the way, has been the possibility in the past. Truman, for example, approved the dropping of atomic bombs that cost a couple of 100,000 lives. He could easily have gone down as a pariah in history. The opposite's been the case. But you understand how that happens. Presidents make decisions. Sometimes they don't prove to be successful, their numbers drop. It's just the way that it is. But what's going on now is that when the people who believe that who are going to vote for Biden are polled, a majority of them believe that Trump is going to win. So you have this sort of factor going on where even those who plan to vote for Biden still believe that Trump is going to pull it out. The reason is that he has in the past pulled it out. The reason is that we're sitting right now, as I've already said, at the very worst period of this crisis economically. Businesses are shut down. Government holds are still in place. As you all know who listen to this podcast regularly, I live in both Nashville, Tennessee and Washington, D.C. Basically, my home is in Alexandria. Virginia's on lockdown. They're talking now about D.C. being on lockdown and for another couple of months. But as of today, May 11th, here in Nashville, Tennessee's wide open. Businesses are open. People are going out. We're getting invitations to dinner, etc. So things are heading back in the right direction. And I don't think that will change, even if there is a bump in infections. So we're going to go through some bumpy time. But the fact is that people, for the most part, most of those watching carefully, believe that Trump is going to benefit from a rise that will be culminating just about the time of the election. In other words, we'll go maybe through some difficult, bumpy months in some states, maybe with national statistics, but along about late summer, everyone believes we'll have seen the worst of it. The economy will be rising. People will be going back to work. Unemployment numbers will be dropping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Trump will be the beneficiary of all of that. So even among those who say they're going to vote for Biden, the majority believe that Trump is going to win. Reinforcing that is the fact that most of the money managers in this country, who are people to watch because they decide where money's going to go, you can read whether they anticipate bad times, you can read whether they anticipate an administration being elected to office that's going to be anti-business, etc. But I won't get into all the nauseous details of the statistics, but money managers expect Trump to be in the White House in November. There's no question, we can tell. In fact, they're saying so quite clearly. In addition to that, it's very interesting that the popular betting destinations, and this is something those of us who watch politics pay attention to, popular betting destinations, without question, are betting on Trump. They know he's in trouble right now. They know he's in some tumultuous waters, some turbulent waters. They know that he's hurt himself badly during this season, and there's no question that he has. They know his administration has not performed well. Still, because of the way the numbers are going to unfold, because of the way the economy is going to rise, because of the way, of course, he will take credit for it, the betting organizations in this country absolutely believe and maintain the idea that Trump will win. One of the websites you might want to watch is called Real Clear Politics. I'm a big believer in it. They average the betting websites that are looking at the election. And they show Trump winning with an average spread of 8.2. This was as of last night. And again, I'm recording on May 11, 2020. Pretty amazing. Casino sportsbooks are paying around $83 for winning bets on Trump, but $135 for winning bets on Biden. Now, I'm not a gambler. I'm too cheap to spend $20 on a slot machine. But the fact is that all of the betting is for Trump amongst those who actually want to talk about who's going to win, and that's even amongst those who are going to vote for Biden. And one of the things that really confirms this is that there was a trial balloon recently from some folks who began talking about a Hillary Clinton Obama ticket, because Barack Obama could be vice president. He can't be president again, but he could be vice president. Of course, it was a relatively silly idea. Still, the amount of response from people who said they would vote for that ticket was huge. And the reason is people are tepid about Biden. They're not that convinced about Biden. He's not making a lot of sense. He's hit and miss. He's got this Tara Reid situation sitting over him, the woman who has accused him of sexual abuse years ago. That situation, as they say in D.C., has legs, meaning it's not going to go away. It's not dying out. It's going to continue to shape the news cycle. It's going to continue to shape the election. You can be sure that Trump's not going to be silent about that, given all he's been through and given all that he said about Bill Clinton in the last election. So all of this to say, we have a very weird situation. Right now, the majority of the country is voting, or at least the majority of voters are voting for Joseph Biden. However, even amongst those people, the majority say Trump's going to win. And they're going to say Trump's going to win because he's slick and he just tends to pull it out. He's kind of the comeback kid. They believe he's going to do it because they believe that socioeconomic factors in the country are going to contribute, are going to make him look good. And of course, they also believe that once you actually get the two men in a debate, once you actually get on stages, once you actually get out there and talk about who can whip a crowd into a frenzy, Trump is going to have the upper hand. I mean, doesn't matter whether you like him or not. The fact is, the guy is very effective amongst his base. Those opposing him don't like him and aren't moved by him, but his base love it. The cussing, the carrying on, the talking about locking people up, the talking about nasty people, all of that works very well. So, right now, as they say in racing, the smart money is on Trump. But the statistics will show at this moment, this of course will be what the press will be reporting, that Biden's ahead. So you'll see articles that say Biden's ahead. You'll see articles that say he's got this and so lead in this and so state. But the fact is that Vegas, that political money managers, that the smart insiders politically all believe that Donald Trump is going to win, though the statistics will show for a while that the majority of people, Americans, plan, or at least a majority of the American voters, plan to vote for Trump. It's an important thing to watch, and it's also part of what I'm going to call, for almost humorous sake, the lie of statistics. Remember the great Mark Twain quote, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And this is how statistics lie. The press might report, for example, that Donald Trump is going to lose to Biden because right now Biden has as much in some polls as an 8-point lead. That sounds devastating. Well, those of us who watch this stuff know that, first of all, in the middle of May before a presidential election means almost nothing. In the middle of this crisis means almost nothing in terms of the political statistics. And given the trends that are about to wash through, they mean less than nothing. And by the way, you have to bear in mind that Joseph Biden has been sitting in a basement talking about who he's going to choose for vice president and trying to string sentences together. I'm not trying to be insulting. He has had a very difficult time just being articulate. When he actually gets out on the stage, when he actually has to move, when he actually has to manage his quote-unquote handling of people, when he actually has to face the blowtorch of Donald Trump, the situation will change. So the statistics are, in a sense, lying to us right now, so I believe. And it's something to watch. Time happens to all men. And in the middle of May, things look one way, but I assure you things are going to absolutely turn. The historical forces are in favor of Donald Trump. Things like not changing horses in the middle of a stream, things like the economic uplift and the growth and the dropping of unemployment rates and so on that will happen as the year progresses. But it's also simply true that at this second, Biden is ahead. So watch carefully how you digest political statistics. Watch carefully the forces that are working. We're seeing positive stats regarding coronavirus. I'm sitting here in Tennessee. It's open right now. The state's alive. Things are flowering. Economies will bounce back. Other states will follow. All that is in Trump's favor. None of it is in Biden's favor. He's sitting in a basement somewhere recording video and saying that Trump has mishandled all this. But when there's no longer a coronavirus situation in the national headlines, it's going to be about the economy, the economy, the economy. And that is in Trump's favor. Keep your eye on the ball and don't be distracted by short-term statistics at a time when they don't make any difference.
Stephen Mansfield is a New York Times best-selling author, a popular speaker, and a frequent faith and culture commentator on Fox and CNN. His groundbreaking books on faith and society include The Faith of George W. Bush, The Search for God in Guinness, Mansfield's Book of Manly Men, and Lincoln's Battle with God. Learn more at stephenmansfield.tv.